Greetings everyone, it's Elliot here. This video is an unexpected one. I honestly was not planning to make this video because it's based off some news that I heard today. Some sad news that I'm sure many of you have heard as well. The great actor of world cinema, Max von Sydow, has passed away. Now, he's passed away aged 90, so he's lived a very long life and he has left behind a great body of work for us to enjoy and to remember him by. So in this video, I'm going to be exploring some of those works, particularly ones that are part of the Criterion collection. And I hope you'll join me in revisiting some of his greatest works. And, let's just remember him by watching his films. If you're new to this channel, my name's Elliot. I love talking about films, world cinema, the Criterion collection, and collecting Blu-rays in general, like these that are behind me. If you like these kind of videos, stick around, get involved in the comments as well, because we've got a good community going here. And I particularly want to hear about your favourite films and your favourite Max von Sydow performances. So let me know in the comments below. So, Max von Sydow. A great performer. Like I mentioned, he left a great body of work. I was looking online before and I think he's made around 140 films. Now, I don't know if that's completely feature films, but I know he's made an awful lot of films. Some of the films I'm going to talk about in a moment, he's made with one particular director. And I think, the work that he did with this particular director is some of the best work ever put on screen. So if you want to familiarise yourself with Max von Sydow's work, or if you're coming at this totally blind and you don't have a clue who he is, this is a great jumping on point. I am, of course, talking about Max von Sydow's collaborations with famed fellow Swede Ingmar Bergman. Ingmar Bergman, one of the greatest directors of all time, so for him to work with one of the greatest actors of all time, it's a combination that is just perfect. If I counted correctly, I think Bergman and von Sydow collaborated around, I think it was 11 times. I might be wrong, do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Of course, one of the best ways of jumping into their works is by getting the Ingmar Bergman's Cinema box set put out by Criterion, which I do happen to have right here. You do need a strong arm for this. You need a very strong arm because it is quite heavy. I mentioned this recently in one of my Criterion sale recommendation videos for the flash sale. This really is big. I said before, it's bigger than my head. It really is heavy as well, really heavy. So you get all of Ingmar Bergman's films in there, including all of the Max von Sydow collaborations. Of course, as well, if I pull this out, there is this famous scene of von Sydow with the tree. I'm going to run a bit of a competition here. Can you name which film this is from? Let me know in the comments below if you know which film it is. As I mentioned before, Bergman and von Sydow had many collaborations together. Of course, there was Winterlight, Virgin Spring, Shame, Wild Strawberries. I'm going blank now. But of course, I'm going to talk about the big one. The most famous collaboration between the two. That is The Seventh Seal. Now, The Seventh Seal, if you've not seen it, is one of the most poetic films ever made, I think. It's a film about death. And I'm going to talk about it very abstractly, but it's a film about death and life. And death is actually a character in the film as well. It's one of the number of medieval films that Bergman made. And I think he made some of the best medieval films of all time. Seventh Seal definitely being one of them as well. The most famous scene from the film, I would say, is when Max von Sydow is sat across from Death. Death is obviously in a black hood, but you can see Death's face, which is not a common depiction of Death. Often Death has like a hidden face, but he doesn't in this film. And they are, of course, playing chess. It's probably one of the most famous, iconic scenes of cinema. So if you're not familiar with The Seventh Seal, I definitely do recommend watching it. One of the best performances by Max von Sydow. Truly emotional, haunting, very strong performance. In the film he sees a great many things, some harrowing sights, and I compare his performance in Seventh Seal with that of something like Falconetti in Passion of Joan of Arc. You know, her performance in The Passion of Joan of Arc, if you've seen it, is very expressive, and it's very much focusing on the face and the emotion that she could portray, obviously without words because that was a silent film. She could portray so much just through facial features. And Max von Sydow is definitely one of those actors who had full command of the minute details of his performance. He wasn't a performer that would play it very big all the time. He could play it big, but he didn't. And Seventh Seal is a prime example of what he could do. I can't remember who said it. Some filmmaker said that one of the best landscapes you can have on film is a human face. Like, the human face can show more than one of the panorama vistas of a David Lean film or a John Ford film. And I think Max von Sydow, he had such an interesting face. He had a very just iconic face, very particular look, very unique. And of course he could act as well. He could act beyond his face. But I think many people are drawn to his face and his piercing blue eyes and his blonde hair. Also, he's very tall as well. So I think, you know, he always stood out. I could sit here and talk for hours about his collaborations with Bergman, but I'm not going to, because I want to get watching some films, and I'm sure you do too. So I'm going to touch on some of the other films that he's made, some that are in the Criterion Collection, some that aren't, but I do hope that they come to the Criterion Collection one day. So hopefully you'll enjoy some of these recommendations. Two other films from the Criterion Collection that Max von Sydow is part of are The Emigrants and The New Land by Jan Troell. I think, is it Troell or Troell? Not too sure. I've only watched The Emigrants. I've not watched The New Land yet. Obviously his passing is very sad, but I think it's going to spur me on to watch so many films of his that I haven't yet encountered. So I'm going to revisit The Emigrants because I've not forgotten most of it, but it's been a while. And then I'm going to watch The New Land. Very exciting Swedish cinema that's not by Bergman. This is definitely recommended. If you can pick it up as well, you're getting two films for the price of one. And they're very long films. They're very, very long films. So you're definitely getting bang for your buck. Von Sydow was an actor who could do these very serious, weighty dramas, like the films with Ingmar Bergman. But he could also do so much more. He was in a great many big films. Recently he was in Star Wars The Force Awakens a few years ago. So he wasn't averse to doing big blockbuster films. He's been in Game of Thrones. He did Minority Report with Steven Spielberg, based on the Philip K. Dick novel. Minority Report as well, actually a film that I really enjoy. I think it's overlooked as one of Spielberg's great, just entertaining films. Some of the CGI, it's from that time, that early 2000s, where it's a bit ropey. You know, War of the Worlds is a lot like that. But I'm going on a tangent there. He's great in Minority Report. So he could do genre, he could do sci-fi, and he was also an icon in one of the great horror films of all time. Depending who you ask as well, maybe the greatest horror film. I'll let you battle that out in the comments. I'm of course talking about The Exorcist. I do have a special edition version of The Exorcist as well. Unfortunately, The Exorcist, not a part of the Criterion Collection, but surely that would be a great fit. The Exorcist, you know, directed by William Friedkin, I think it perfectly balances being, you know, thrilling, horrific, you know, genre film, but also there's a lot of substance in that film. You know, the themes that it delves into about religion and God, just so powerful. And of course, Max von Sydow plays the priest in the film. And his weight, and obviously a lot of the performances he'd done before about religion, you know, with Bergman, that shows, his experience shows in The Exorcist. And it is a great performance. I would love The Exorcist to come to the Criterion Collection. For now, I do have the Mondo Steelbook with the iconic Pazuzu statue as well. Beautiful minimalist design. I display this on my wall. It's that good. It's like a piece of artwork. But wouldn't it be great if it just had the Criterion curly C logo here? One can dream. Not totally out of the realms of possibility either, because in the last few years, Criterion have been pulling some big titles. Big titles. So it could happen. It could happen. Who knows? But one of the great performances by Max von Sydow. So definitely, if you've not seen The Exorcist, what are you doing? Just check it out. So there we go. That's my little tribute to the great actor that was and is Max von Sydow. I hope you'll be revisiting some of his work, as I will, over the next few weeks. I really want to get back into some of the Bergman films that he made. I'm going to rewatch The Exorcist. Going to rewatch Minority Report, actually, talking about it earlier. And I'm going to watch those Jan Troll films again. Well, The Emigrants again. Not seeing The New Land, of course. But let me know. Let me know what films you will be watching, if any, that feature the great Max von Sydow. I apologise that this video is very haphazard. Obviously, like I said, wasn't preparing it at all because the news only broke today that he'd passed away. But what a wonderful life. You know, it's sad, but you've got to celebrate his life and the work that he left behind. He left so many great films, and for us, you know, he will live on. He will live on through these films, and he will never be forgotten. So, yeah, Max von Sydow, rest in peace. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that we can continue the discussion in the comments. I'll be back with some more videos very soon on the Criterion collection and Blu-rays and just all that good stuff. So until then, I'll see you next time and keep watching great films.